Motivation is what drives us all, whether that's internally or externally. We're all motivated by something or someone even. And often when you come from circumstances that weren't exactly the building blocks of ambition, one becoming ambitious and productive and optimistic and positive, sometimes it's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's hard to visualize success. It's hard to see a path forward, even never mind actual achieving goals that you want in life. Sometimes it's just hard just trying to figure out what the hell you want to do with your life. What if you want to do anything. Sometimes we don't even really know what we want anymore, what we like anymore. And at that point, it's difficult to, it's hard to push towards any kind of motivation when you don't really when you don't feel any sense of real purpose or direction in life, and you just kind of feel stuck and lost in this sort of endless cycle of, I know I should be doing something, I know that I need to be pushing myself, but you just can't seem to push yourself to do it. You just can't seem to get yourself into a frame of mind that you need to push forwards. So sometimes it's hard to be motivated to do anything when you kind of reach a stage in your life. I don't know if it happens to everybody, but certainly in my life I've kind of felt stuck these past few years, not really knowing what I want to do with my life anymore, not really feeling like I have any meaning. I don't feel like there's any meaning in it anymore. So I'm just kind of like wandering endlessly into the void. And then you always get like advice like, why don't you pick up some new hobbies and things like that? Well, in order to do that, you need to have the motivation to want to change. And that's hard to find. I've always struggled with motivation. I've had problems with it my entire life. I had it when I was a child. I had it when I used to, especially at school, when I had to prepare for, like, revise for tests and stuff like that. I could just never seem to get myself in that mind frame for long enough to do it. And also it didn't help that I wasn't particularly gifted at school, and partly because of that, I wasn't particularly very interested. So it's not an easy life to lead when you don't really have you don't have a sense of direction, you don't really know where to go, because you're not very smart, or maybe because you're not well educated, or you were just unlucky enough to find yourself in a place that, whatever reason, just ended up getting in with the wrong crowd of people. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have accountability, and take responsibility for your life. Of course you should, but sometimes it's just hard to find that motivation to get up and start doing something. You know, the only thing you can really do is to try and set yourself, you know, small goals to begin with, and then I guess gradually, you know, work towards more middle goal and long-term goals. And I think that can help you a lot. Even if it's just something as simple or somewhat tedious or meaningless, like, I don't know, cleaning your house or something, or just doing the garden, or, you know, finishing a book maybe, or I don't know, completing a game, just something that gives you some sense of kind of control and power over your own life in some way. Because I think that's in the end, when you don't feel like when you haven't really ever been drawn to anything, you end up having to basically having to kind of, you know, convince yourself, you know, to kind of trick your mind into believing that you want to do certain things, even though you might not necessarily be that interested in them. But it might be good for you to just have something to focus on. Like I said, you know, I didn't grow up with a lot of motivation. I was too easily led by a lot of people at a very vulnerable part of my life, and that was pretty much throughout my entire school years, really. So it's not been easy. Even just completing school in and of itself, I didn't particularly get any good grades. You know, I didn't do well at college. Let's face it. I mean, I passed my course and everything, but you know, I didn't really take advantage of college life because, well, but I suppose part of it is because I was immature and I wasn't ready for it, and I just wasn't disciplined enough, I guess. I think really in many ways I just wasn't set up very well to deal with reality. I wasn't really molded in many ways that would have helped me to become more disciplined and regimented. And of course, as an adult now, it's obviously my responsibility to deal with that kind of stuff now. But those early years, they have a really big impact on who you become and the things you think, the things you feel about yourself, the things that you tell yourself. And I guess what I'm trying to say here is it's hard to break out of that. It's hard to break out of old habits. And that's not just procrastinating and being lazy, which is essentially what it is. But of course, there are deeper reasons. There are, you know, psychological reasons behind those things. It's not just a case of you just procrastinate for the sake of it. There's, you know, there's reasons for that. But you know, ultimately, I think in my life, of times I've made excuses. At times I guess I tried my best at points, but other times I didn't really take advantage of things and take opportunities, I guess, that came up. But it's not because I was not because I didn't want to. I just felt that I was just too caught up in my own self-doubt, my own negativity. I was too caught up in my disbelief that, you know, I didn't have any confidence in myself. I didn't think I could do anything, and that's essentially kind of followed me throughout my entire life and obviously well into adulthood, unfortunately. And because of that, you know, I've declined a lot of things over the years, and I probably haven't led as fulfilling a life as I would have liked to have had. But you know, it's not all entirely my fault, but some of it is. You know, I should have really nipped it in the bud a lot earlier on in my early 20s by having more therapy, really, which I did have some of when I was younger, but not enough. And I think just ultimately I probably just didn't really have, and I'm not trying to just make excuses up here. But you know, I do think that this is important to say, is that I just wasn't moulded well. I wasn't guided enough in life at an earlier age. I wasn't really pushed enough, I think, and I didn't have maybe in some ways as strict and as rigid and disciplined as a life as I look back on it, I would have liked to have had. Although I probably wouldn't have enjoyed it at the time, but obviously it would have served me well in my adult years. But it is what it is, I guess, and you know, you just have to try and make the best of what life's kind of thrown at you, and you know, and I suppose a lot of it is down to how you kind of respond to things and look at things, but it's not easy to get over those ingrained stains of the mind, you know, like that. It's like those habits that have taken root, you know, those deep roots of things that you've been doing for so long. You know, it's very, very difficult to change. It's very difficult to break out of certain, you know, mental habits, you know, of negative self-talk, of self-doubt, of, you know, low self-esteem, and just the general kind of way that you look at life and approach things. It's not easy to, you know, it's not something that just, you don't just get over it. It's not something that you just, it's hard to break free of things. It's hard to, it's not easy. I don't know how else to say it. It's not easy. You know, I think ultimately, like, at the end of the day, the only thing you can really do is to try and set yourself some, goals. I mean, I suppose in terms of my development, I'm probably about 10 years behind where I should be in many respects. In terms of my sort of level of knowledge, some degree of wisdom, probably, you know, education. It's just, I think I've just always felt like, a failure throughout my life. That's the problem. That's just the truth of it. Never really felt like I was good enough, because I wasn't at times. But as someone that's, I don't want to keep bring it up again every single time I do one of these kind of like deep talk kind of things, you know. It's something that I have experience with because I've lived with it for the past 15, 20 years probably, and that's depression. And I don't know what type of depression I have. I don't know if I have like cyclic form. I forgot the name of it. There's an actual name for that. Or if I have major depression, disorder, I don't know. I genuinely don't know. All I know is that it's been a struggle. It's been something that I've really genuinely struggled with for very, very badly with, I think, for the last sort of 10 years. And when I say badly, I mean to a point where I genuinely wanted to kill myself at times. There's no way of putting it. It's just as simple as that. You know, I just didn't like the way. I just hated myself, and it's just that really. I just hated everything about myself. I didn't want to look at myself in the mirror really. I didn't want to, I guess, admit my flaws and insecurities. And because of that, you know, that regresses you, and that sets you back. It's, you know, when you can't confront your own shortcomings and inadequacies, you know, that leads to you not evolving as quickly as you should be. You know, not moving on as quickly as you should be. Not dealing with life in ways that would be better for you. You know? And I'm not saying there's any kind of perfect cure to, you know, you suddenly becoming hyper motivated or hyper ambitious or anything like that. I don't think there is anything really. Ultimately, I suppose really it's down to how much willpower you've got, and how much you really want to change, I guess. I mean, of course, medication can help, and therapy, and, you know, having a good close group of friends that you can trust, good family support and things, they're all helpful. But I mean, you know, ultimately though, it is down to, you've got to sometimes you just got to, I don't know, just like, just got to dig deep. You really do. I don't know. I don't know. But sometimes you just have to tell yourself. If that's lying to yourself for the sake of improving in certain ways, then that might be the way you have to go. But it's hard being stuck. It's hard. It's very difficult to. It's hard to get over those years or even decades of frustrations, and maybe you don't ever get over it. You know, maybe it's just stuff that you just have to deal with it. You know, you just have to accept that that's part of who you are, and you know, just try and make the best of your life as much as you can. Well, that's, you know, just trying to kind of pretend that it doesn't exist, you know, sort of somehow compartmentalise it all, however you can do that. But you know, I like, it's just, I am a deep thinker. I do ponder on a lot of deep stuff, and I do come to a lot of realizations about things, and some of those are quite dark, some of those are deep things, and that doesn't mean, I'm not saying I'm right about everything, but I just that's just how I think. I analyse things, and you know, I always try to look beyond the surface level of things. I'm not saying that's you can't. I'm not saying you can't always trust what's there on the surface, but But when it comes to things like, you know, relationships and things like politics and things like that, there's always more going on. You know, money's involved, and whether it's status, power, influence, leverage. The dysfunctionalities that go on between, you know, male friends and female friends, and dynamics between parents and their children, you know, the power play of education and all that kind of, all sorts of different things. You know, the inequalities of society, and the hierarchical structure of the dominant forces versus everybody else. It's, you know, it's easy to get bogged down in this life by a lot of things, and I know this. It's all a bit depressing, but I just, it's not easy to keep going when you don't want to. When you get up in the morning and you just feel like, you know, what am I doing? Why am I even bothering to get up? You know, what am I doing with my life? And you just kind of, you know, even just eventually, you know, just kind of, it's not so much depression, but you just start to think of just that existential crisis stuff comes in, and just think, you know, even just chores start to become kind of, you know, it's not that you can obviously, I don't have depression to the extent where I'm not taking care of my health in terms of not doing like basic bodily chores and things, but you know, there are just some times where you just want to give up, you know, there are just some times where you just think, fuck it, you know, I just don't fucking care anymore. There are times where you feel like that. I don't do it, but you know, you just think to yourself, what's the fucking point of all this, man? It's like, I'm going to be dead soon, you know, who gives a fuck if my fucking organs are fucked or my teeth are fucked? Or it's like, I don't know, this is kind of irrational sort of depression based thinking, but it's you know, there is some truth to it, you know. And I think now that I'm in my, I don't want to keep mentioning this either when I make videos, but I don't know, it's just, I just think that because of my age, you know, I'm only 5 years away from the big 40. You know, I've basically lived more or less about half of my life, probably anyway, at this point, I'm guessing. I'd imagine maybe just slightly less. I just don't know, I just like, I guess it's like you just start pondering on what the fuck are you doing? You know, what are you doing with your life? What are you doing? Who the hell are you anymore? Like, you just start getting like this, and you just go round and round and round and round in circles with this kind of like thinking, and it just doesn't get you anywhere. It doesn't do you any good. It's just like, so you have to find something somewhere to give you some kind of strength to want to change. But that's the problem, is when you don't feel like that. And I'm not saying that you should always, you have to feel something to do things. No, but it can help you a lot. You know, when you feel good about things, when you're feeling better, it's easier if you want to do things. Whereas when you wake up feeling like shit, and you know, you just, whether that's because you just had a bad night's sleep, or I don't know, you're just not feeling very good that day. You know, it's probably like most people with depression, like you have your ups and downs, and some days are kind of sort of all right, and then the other days you just think to yourself, I just want to give up. I just don't care anymore. I just don't care anymore. I don't give a shit. I just don't really want to do anything. I don't want to leave the house. I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to have to deal with work. I don't want to even brush my teeth some days. And of course, you do what you have to do, but you know, part of you just like I really don't like. I really could do without the shit today. You know, I really would like to not have to deal with this crap. You know, there's some days where you just think, you know, I just can't. I just don't want to do this anymore. I just don't want to. I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want to. I don't want to feel like this. I don't want to think like this anymore. I don't know who's watching right now, but hello. So it's hard to, it's difficult to find that motivation to keep going in life. When you think that things are failing around you, and when things just seem to be just declining. When you don't have the energy anymore, you don't have the patience, you don't have the tolerance anymore to deal with excess bullshit. You know, it's like, you deal with what you have to deal with, I guess. But besides that, it just, I just think now that I'm 35. Look, I'm a month away from my 35th birthday, right? And I really, the last thing I want to deal with at this point in my life is unnecessary bullshit from, even from my family. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with it from people that barely ever reach out to me on Facebook. I don't want to deal with it from at work. I don't want to deal with it with my wife. But unfortunately, that is just an inevitability of life. That life is full of shit. Life is full of crap all the time. Life is just endlessly stressful until until the day that you fucking pop your clogs. Motivation really is the. I'd say that's probably the most important thing in life. Because, of course, it's massively valuable to be competent at something, to be skilled, to have a certain level of education, to have some degree of intelligence about you or some potential. But at the end of the day, it really just kind of all boils down to. It's not just motivation, but motivation's a big player in it. But it's also how you. It's also not just about motivation. It's how you. It's how much value you place on certain things as well. It's like and also the kind of logistics of certain things, and how important something is to you in terms of your personal growth and whatever plan it is, whatever plan you've got, whatever you're trying to achieve in life, whatever you're trying to work towards or work away from, then you have to have some degree of motivation. But it's some days you just don't have it. There's no other way to say it. It's just some days you're running on empty, honestly. Like, you're just running on fumes, and I've talked about it on my channel before about things like exercising and things like that. But I'm someone that I can get into exercise, but I give up very easily. Not because it's difficult or it hurts so much. I just lose motivation very quickly. That's really been, I suppose, really one of the biggest burdens of my life. It's not being able to muster up that level of motivation for long enough. First of all, it was ambition. I didn't have any ambitions really. I didn't know what I wanted to do as a kid. Not really. I didn't really know what I wanted to do as a teenager. And so by the time I left school in 2006, I was basically just kind of wandering, really lost, and I just kind of thought at that point, well, I better go to college, better not waste my time and do something. But upon reflection, I was 16, 17 years old, so I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I didn't know really what I wanted. You're asking a lot of teenagers, essentially still kids, really, to know exactly what they want. I mean, look, I respect to those that do know, and obviously not too much know, but actually, get themselves sorted out, when they're in their very late teens or early 20s, in terms of what degree or what apprenticeship they want to go on, or what trade, or whatever skills they want to learn, whatever. But, it's great, wonderful, good for them. But that's just that. Not everybody goes down that path in life. I didn't. And it's not. It wasn't just because I was a procrastinator. It was just I just didn't genuinely know. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I just didn't know what to do with myself. I left school. I was unemployed for a while. I did some work, landscaping work, for a period of time, and then I was dealing with bullying there, and I just kind of was like, I want to go to college. I want to try, and I wanted to be the first one in my family, immediate family, to go to college as well. So it was part of it as well, which I actually kind of got into a lot of trouble with later on because of the financial bullshit that came of it, which my dad never let down. I mean, talk about dysfunction. But anyway, I mean, surely your son's education is important, isn't it? Nah. Not when you're dealing with toxic parents. Anyway, let's leave that there. So, that is a part of it, I know my brother doesn't like me bringing it up, but it's the truth, when you were raised in a toxic, dysfunctional environment, which of course they'll never admit to, but it's the absolute truth of it. That messes you up. There's not two ways about it. That fucks you up as a kid and into adult. That message, that really does, in many ways, kind of, it messes with your beliefs about people. It leads you to become untrustworthy. It leads you to become suspicious and skeptical and pessimistic about humanity. When the people that you should be able to trust the most you can't trust, and so they leave you, and it all leaves you with this baggage. Maybe the word trauma might be a little bit excessive or exaggerated. Maybe, I'm not sure, but it certainly doesn't. It doesn't lead you on down any kind of good mental direction. Not unless you start, dealing with it, working it all out through, with a therapist. But even then, it's you've still got to deliver it with it all at the end of the day. And it's your path, it's your unique journey. It's like my brother's don't fully understand my life, and I don't fully understand theirs. Even though we all grew up in the same household, but we all have different recollections of certain things. We all, we all obviously unique individuals in our own right, and it's just. But really, it makes sense that the direction in which they went in their own lives, and I sympathise and empathise with them in certain ways, but in other ways, they also made their own choices, and that's why their lives are the way they are, and mine's the way it is, for good and bad, So I'm sure sometimes they probably would like to have my life, but sometimes I'd quite like to have theirs. So nothing's perfect, nothing's ever completely ideal in life, no matter where you are, what you're doing. But the only thing I can say that I did have in terms of motivation was that I knew that I had to get out of that household. I knew that I had to break away from it. I knew that I had to kind of have an arm's length kind of relationship with my parents, unfortunately, and also probably in some ways with my siblings as well, for their own good and for my own good. It's just, it's not an easy thing to say really, but it's the truth. It's not a nice thing to say, but it just is what it is. But we all know that anyway. It became too negative, too toxic, too just self-loathing, and just became a pity party at the end. And I just kind of got tired of being surrounded. Got tired of feeling like I was stuck in it, and was kind of being used as a kind of emotional punching bag in certain ways by my parents and others in the household at certain points as I was growing up. So for me, and also just because of the things that happened at home when I was a kid and when I was a teenager, I just felt personally for me that I had to try at least to try and get out of there. And it's like just what it wasn't for me. I didn't want to really be surrounded. Like, don't get me wrong, I love my parents and everything and my siblings, but there's sometimes you have to make difficult decisions for your own good, for your own sanity in the end. And I wish them all the very best of luck and everything, but I just felt that for me I had to go in a different direction. What they do with their own lives is up to them. It's nothing to do with me really. But in terms of motivation, which is what this is about, this whole thing. I felt motivated to get out of that because I felt that if I was going to change, if I was going to do anything with my life, if I was ever going to go anywhere, I had to break free of it. I had to get out of it. I had to do something to break away from that cycle, because it was becoming a cycle, it was becoming a lifestyle. I was kind of essentially copying my parents in certain ways, and becoming negative and just kind of dysfunction in certain ways like they were. And I'm not saying that everything's entirely their own fault. They grew up in difficult circumstances and in difficult times and economic issues and so forth. But anyway, that's a whole thing that I've already talked about that anyway repeatedly. So, but yeah, I knew I had to find some kind of motivation to do something, and I think the last straw was really when I had a massive argument with my father, and I won't go into all of it in 2012, and that for me was the final straw. Then I was 22 years old, and I was just like, no, I'm not dealing with this shit anymore. I'm not going to deal with this anymore. That was for me. That was it. I knew at that point that was the end of that. And in a way, it's a good thing that it did happen, because that after that, I moved out and I moved in with some guy I'd met on a training course. That wasn't exactly ideal either, but it was good for me to kind of be allowed to kind of mature a little bit and live a bit of independence and freedom away from all that kind of just very, very toxic environment. Just in so many ways. But the guy that I lived with clearly had some kind of PTSD of some sort, and was clearly had issues of his own. But thankfully that didn't last forever, and but I had some good times there. It wasn't all bad, and so I motivated myself to break free of that, and then motivate myself eventually to I wasn't getting anywhere with employment, so I volunteered for some company for a while, and then I got bored with that, and so that then led me to just kind of become desperate for employment. So I took a job that didn't really work out after a few months. So that was then a point where I decided to leave the country. And I was just like, well, that's the final straw as far as living here for the time being. And I've only been back to the UK for 8 months in the whole time since 2015 until now. So I knew it was for the best for me to stay away from there really, as long as I could. It might not last forever, and I expect at some point that I'll probably end up having to go back to the UK. Certainly when my parents age, and obviously one of them passes away, which is obviously inevitability. But for the time being, I'm just trying to live my life over here as best as I can. But obviously, it's not easy. Like everyone's lives, there's financial difficulties, there's economic problems over here as well in Thailand. It's an oversaturated market now with so many people coming over here from England and parts of Europe because of the failing economies over there. And so it's not easy over here anymore. It was better when I first came here, but it's becoming gradually more and more difficult to get a job here. Certainly with a decent company anyway. But anyway, that was too much of my life story. But motivation matters. It really is without it, you've got nothing. It doesn't matter how much money you've got. It doesn't matter as far as the average person. I'm talking about the average person here. I'm not talking about people that know people and people that know the right types of people and can position themselves in life to get where they want a lot quicker, a lot easier. But for the average person, it comes down to hard work. It comes down to motivation and money, and often the case it's just down to luck. It's just down to people giving you a chance. And it's like if I hadn't been given a chance to volunteer and to work and to live at that guy's house, I would never have ended up over here in town. So it's not. A lot of things are out of your hands. It's like, yes, you can position, you can try to set, you can sort of maneuver yourself in some ways, but ultimately a lot of the time it's down to other people. People don't give you opportunities, the chances in life, then you've got no chance. You've got no way of, you need people to give you an opportunity. And because there's so many people, there's a lot more people not getting as many opportunities as there's not as many chances to do things anymore. But like I said earlier, it's motivation is it's a foundation, really. It's essentially the structure on which everything else comes from. Which can be built upon, because without it, you won't head towards, you won't get towards something better, because at the end of the day, nobody can force you to change. Nobody can really ultimately push you all the way. It's not fair on other people to expect that from people. So there are times in life where you just have to somehow, I don't know, but you just have to find something. You've got to. Sometimes you just you can't wait to be motivated. You can't just wait for that adrenaline, that rush of, I want to do something right now, and that's it. Because those days don't happen very often. It's like it's so easy to get unmotivated. It's so easy to stay unmotivated. That's the problem. Especially when you already have a pretty shitty perception of yourself, and maybe your memories are kind of traumatic and damaging to your self-esteem and your overall confidence and image, the way you perceive yourself. And when you're somebody like me that tends to ruminate over certain things and catastrophize at times, when there's a lot of stress and pressure, or just as a kind of habit, unfortunately, that's become mental lifestyle, let's say. It's extremely difficult to break out of those things, I can tell you now. Of course I've had phases where I've completed a degree, and I've gotten fit before. it's not like I've never had motivation. It's not like I've never done anything. You know, I've run a half marathon. I've done some runs. You know, like charity runs and things before. You know, I finished school. You know, I didn't get good grades, but I finished school. I finished college. So it's not like I haven't done anything. You know, I was. You know, I've done things in my life, and so I have had motivation, but I think as I've gotten older, and I think honestly, really since I got married, I've just kind of sort of lost the will to live. I think, if I'm being honest, it's not so much it's my wife, although that I think in some ways the lack of real compatibility in certain areas, I think, is not ideal, because it's, you know, she just seems she's not a very verbally, you know, motivating, kind of inspiring woman, really. You know, she does what she can, I suppose, but you know, but ultimately it's not down to her anyway. But obviously it would be nice if she could, you know, pass some encouragement over to me every now and again. That would be great, but never mind. But I suppose, you know, it does come down to yourself, you know, and if you can somehow dredge up something somewhere deep within your fucking soul or whatever to want to push on in life. And I think as I'm getting a bit older, I'm just finding it more difficult to find that motivation. It's not so much that I'm looking for excuses not to do things. I just don't see the point within a lot of things. You know, I just don't see the benefit of putting in all the energy. You know, I don't see. This is not enough of a reward, I guess, for me in a lot of ways now in life. You know, as I've gotten older, a lot of things, superficial things. You know, I think I just have a different outlook on life. I have a different perspective and perception of life these days. I don't, you know, at one time would have been, you know, quite happy to go out clubbing and talk to people and, you know, partying until the early hours. Now I can't really think of anything worse, to be honest. I mean, I would not saying I wouldn't do it ever again, but I mean, it's not high on my agenda, if I'm being honest about it. You know, I just don't feel the same way about life. Things, you know, the shine's kind of gone away. You know, the naivety, the ignorance, as they say, ignorance is bliss. You know, well, you know, once you have a certain number of experiences under your belt, once you've seen some shit and heard some shit, you know, long enough and lived it and experienced certain things, and just dealing with the inevitable, you know, the realities of life in and of itself, it makes life increasingly harder to stay motivated, to get it, and then to keep it. It's not so much difficult in getting motivation. It's maintaining motivation. That's the most difficult thing. You know, we all have our, you know, half an hour, maybe every day or every other day of motivation. If we're lucky, we'll do something or whatever, you know, whatever it is. But then you have your. What I'm finding as I'm getting older, I'm having, you know, sort of like flash energy periods, I guess. I don't know what you describe it as, but just very brief, short-lived spells of motivation, and where, you know, 1 minute you're passionate about something, you want to do something and get into it, and then just, you know, something sets you off and whatever, and you just kind of give in, you just stop doing it, you just don't care, and you just kind of move on, and you know, it's no way to live your life like that. You just never do anything. And
See, this is really why you've got to do things when you're younger, man. You've got to do things when you're in your 20s. It's, you know, just as you get older, obviously you as a man, your testosterone levels are declining by, you know, what was it, like 1 or 2% per year or something. So that probably doesn't help. You know, this is the natural aging, you know, side effects of that, I suppose, is, you know, sort of less energy, less drive, less, obviously the other part of his life, less sex drive, less tolerance, less patience, as I've already spoken about. So it's a real challenge. It's a real challenge. And I'm not, you know, sitting here feeling sorry for myself. I'm just telling you how I feel and what I'm going through, and I have been going through for a number of years, and I suppose ultimately this will probably end up having to come down to taking a certain number of supplements at the very least, or maybe in the end having to kind of take a combination of supplements and medication, maybe going back to therapy at some stage, probably. It's like I know who I am, you know, and I know how broken I am, and I know sometimes that I can be difficult, and I can be, you know, unstable, mentally speaking, emotionally speaking. But, you know, it's like, you know, when you've grown up with a lot of struggles, when you've dealt with a lot of personal battles that people don't see and you don't really share with most people, you know, those are things that you keep to yourself. You know, there's a lot of baggage, I guess, to unravel, and it would probably take a few years to get through it all if I was to go really in depth and analyse everything bit by bit. It's not a case of just forget about it, you know, just think positive, or, you know, go out and exercise. It doesn't work like that, you know. It's easy to start something, but it's difficult to maintain that resilience, you know, that perseverance in something. That's really been the chains that have held me back in my life. I've struggled so badly with persevering and being able to stick, not so much sticking at it, but wanting to do it. That's what it is, you know. It's like, just, we can all do things half-heartedly, but I think that I run out of steam very quickly with hobbies and interests and things. I guess I'm just not as passionate about life anymore. I'm not as interested in people as I used to be. You know, I don't care about. I don't really care about a lot of things, really. I'm really not that. I'm not really inspired by much. I'm not really energized by a lot of things these days. Like, you know, when I was in my early 20s, I think music was a big component of my energy and but now, like, I really don't listen to a lot of. I really don't listen to that much music, actually. You know, I really don't do much at all. I basically stare at my phone, watch pointless, you know, just doom scrolling, you know, just watching random nonsense shorts and just endless, you know, ASMR videos and white noise, and, you know, read about space and things like that. But I mean, really, I don't really do anything. I don't, you know, I barely leave the house these days. Not because I don't want to. There's just nowhere to go. I don't have any money. I don't really have any reason to go out. So I guess I think I've kind of allowed myself, unfortunately, to be kind of become a little bit indoctrinated by my own mind. You know, it's kind of become a little bit, you know, institutionalized, psychologically speaking. This has kind of been my life for the past few years, really, you know, since COVID. I think I've just kind of spiraled into a real, really, really messy, you know, even dangerous psychological state over the past 5 years. And I mean, really, once I quit teaching in schools over here, it was pretty much game over, I suppose. You know, I knew that it was probably a bad idea at the time to do that for various reasons. You know, one of them was that I was going to end up becoming more isolated, and obviously I was going to end up with less money, and it's just endless frustration with myself, this endless disappointment and bitterness and resentment of myself. That's what's led me to just kind of give up. You know, honestly, some days I just don't give a fuck. I just don't fucking care anymore. I don't want to do anything. I just want to be left the fuck alone. But you can't live your entire life like that. It's no good for you. You just get worse and worse. So I know that at some point I have to break out of this somehow. But I just don't know how to do it. I don't know what to do, where to go, who to ask. So I don't have anybody. I don't have any money anymore. Not that I ever really did, but still. My life is genuinely, it's a fucking mess. And I let myself get to this point. That's the thing that bothers me. Is that I shouldn't. I knew this was not going to lead anywhere healthy. I knew this wasn't going to lead to anything good. But just in the back of my mind was like, yeah, but you know, as long as you're not in the UK, as long as you know, everything will be alright. And you know, my wife always says, oh, don't think too much, don't worry too much. Well, you know what? Somebody has to fucking think. Somebody does have to think about these kind of things. I do, because it's my life. I'm the one with nothing in my bank account. I'm the one with no job. I'm the one with no friends, no social life, no hobbies anymore. I do nothing. Literally, I literally do. Like, basically fuck all most of the time, most of the day, every day. I wake up, have a shower, brush my teeth, eat breakfast, get online, waste fucking an hour or two looking for jobs that I know I'm probably never going to get. It's just a waste of time applying for, but I'll apply for them anyway. To give myself some, you know, sort of pat on the back kind of thing. Oh, well, at least I've done that today. Like it's going to fucking result in anything great. And then after that, you know, what do I do? Just mess about on the internet, do nothing for the next fucking 6-7 hours. I'm not motivated. I don't have any discipline. I don't have any. Just procrastinate. Just all I do is just sit around doing nothing all day. I don't know my health, my mental health's declining, and my body's, you know, I'm out of shape. But it just most of the time, I just my mindset is just I just don't care. I don't care anymore. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to do anything anymore. That's how I feel sometimes. I don't want to get out of my comfort zone. That's the problem. It's like I know I've got to leave it, but I just can't pull myself out of it. I can't pull my head out my ass. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with me. I was like, it's not just depression. I think it's just a combination of different things over the years that have led to this. It's too much isolation. It's too much loneliness. It's too much disassociation, disillusionment with things over here in Thailand, and obviously watching the kind of slow burn decline of the UK, which is inevitably going to erupt into civil war in the coming years, as we all well know. So does all that stuff play on my mind? You know, there's the worries of my parents who are getting older. You know, obviously I'm going to get that call at some point. Just the troubles of my marriage. But, you know, I laugh it off and, you know, pretend everything's okay and, you know, keep going on, you know, like as if I'm doing something worthwhile in my life, as if I've got some, you know, some great reason to keep waking up, you know, to keep going on. But you know, I don't know why I'm even still alive at this point. I don't even know why I'm even bothering. I guess it's just the fear of death, really. It's just nobody wants to die, do they? It's not, you know, it's not built into us to want to die necessarily. You know, our bodies are built for survival. Your body will do whatever it can, up to as much as it possibly can, until it can't anymore. It's like, you know, the amount of times over the years that I've contemplated suicide and running away from everybody and everything, but what does it achieve in the end? You know, it's like, what do? You leave a trail of misery behind, and it's like, it's not fair on other people. But you know, having that, just not being motivated to do anything, it's like you're not going anywhere, are you? You're just running around in circles. It's the definition of insanity, I suppose. It's But you know, like I said, I know that I've got to do something. I just don't know. I don't know how. I don't know what. I can't seem to pull myself up to do anything anymore. Maybe it's just just becomes sort of a habitual thing, or it's just my energy levels are just declining, and I just can't be bothered anymore. Too much hassle, too much stress. Just don't. I haven't got the. I don't feel like I've got it in me to deal with people, to deal with the stresses and pressures of having a full-time job. And you know, it's like, I know I should be probably working toward my master's degree, but again, just, you know, really ever since August last year, since when I finished my bachelor's degree, you know, admittedly later upon in my life than I would have liked, but still, you know, I haven't really done much since then. Just kind of been messing about, fucking around with my life, and just wasting time, which is regrettable. And I know at some point in the future I will look back on that with deep regret, because you know, your 30s is still a good time to pull yourself up, and you know, but I just don't know how to do it. I don't know how I'm going to get myself out of this. Just feel stuck with no real options, no better alternatives, you know. And I'm sure a lot of other people out there, a lot of you out there probably feel the same way and gone through similar things. And I didn't used to be like this. I don't know. I think it's just become a lifestyle, I guess. Slowly but surely, it's kind of just become I've got to break out of it. I've got to somehow find a way to break free of what I've kind of created for myself. You know, maybe not deliberately, but unintentionally. And part of it probably was, I suppose some of it was down to COVID, the pandemic thing. That certainly didn't help me out as much. Because before then I was still going out and teaching students and things. But ever since the pandemic, everything's been online really for the most part. And I've just not really wanted to do anything. honestly, there's some days I don't even want to see my wife. I don't even want to talk to her. I don't even want to see the dogs. So it's clearly depression. Of some sort. So I feel for anybody out there that's going through it. I understand how difficult that can be. Cyclothymia, is that how you pronounce it? That's what I think I probably have. But it's definitely gotten worse over the years. I suppose partly because I kind of got settled into my marriage probably too early on, and I kind of quit my job, career if you want to call it that. I'm not sure really what you would, but I just gave up. I don't know. That's the best way to summarise it. I just to conclude this rather long talk, but I just gave up. I gave up on humanity. I gave up on trying. And thanks to imposter syndrome that's bothered me for years, I just felt like I was caught in a web, really, just caught in this very, very negative cycle of self-sabotage, just real pain, mental pain. But what is there to do? What is there to do? Apart from just try to keep going, just try to a little bit nudge myself a little bit every day maybe. Just try to push on. Wish me luck, and I wish you all the very best of luck as well. It's not an easy ride, it's not an easy life for any of us that are struggling with the very things I've talked about. You've just got to keep going. You just got to keep trying. Even if you don't believe it, just I guess just have to tell yourself that you can do it. You can make it. You can be better. You can be a better version of yourself if you're just willing to give yourself a chance, I guess. Maybe just unlike me, maybe you're dealing with things better and you've got a better approach, better techniques of dealing with things, and probably that's probably what I need to do, is to work more on techniques of stress management and things. Well, that energy thing's real though, man. It doesn't get any easier the older you get, let me tell you. It really, really doesn't. So if anybody that's at my age or older or younger, I congratulate you, because it's. I know I can do it. I know I can pull myself up, and I will at some point. I know that. But just some days, man. Some days it's fucking dark, man. It's really, really fucking depressing. And I don't want to come across as narcissistic or self-loathing or anything like that, but just trying to be real about it, just trying to be honest and open. I know there's a lot of people out there struggling with the very same things I am. Some days you just want to go to sleep, and that's it. You just don't want to do anything. But the problem is, it doesn't help you in the end. None of that stuff, shutting yourself away, isolating yourself, becoming secluded. Just all it does is institutionalise you into more mental health problems, you see. You just got to be so careful with your mental health. It really is a balancing act. And it's so easy to just get to tip over the edge and fall into the abyss, and it can be a long struggle to get back up.